Hey, what's going on? It's me, Max, and I hope you're doing good, and today I will review Hajime no Ippo's latest chapter, which is 1402, so let's get into it. And yeah, this chapter was more fight-focused than dialogue-focused, since Wally and Ricardo Martinez go back and forth for most of this chapter. And yeah, we continue to see how Ricardo Martinez is struggling to deduce Wally's fighting style and how to counter it. And I really like the theory Ricardo tested out at the beginning of this chapter, which was to try to slow Wally down with body blows. And while it's a very basic idea, I really liked how Ricardo Martinez ended up getting countered because of this, and he ended up basically referencing Wally's match with Ippo without even realizing it. And after Wally lands his counterpunch on Ricardo Martinez, the round ends, and when Ricardo walks back to his corner, we see very visible damage to the side of his eye. And this proves that Ricardo Martinez's theory about Wally aiming for the eyes earlier in the fight was actually true. And finally, Wally's being warned about how he shouldn't use the ropes the way he does in the match by the referee. And the only reason this happened is because Ricardo's coach basically told the referee to inform him to stop doing that. And Dankichi notices this and he tells the referee that if this is his decision or the enemy corner's decision. And he said this because of course he would know about matches being swayed or not, since he's in fact Vorg's coach. But of course the referee, being the man with all the rules in the ring, would say that his decision is final. And the thing is, Miguel and Wally don't even seem bothered by what the referee just said. And this was very interesting to hear them accept this, since basically half of Wally's mobility will be unusable now. So Wally's basically getting nerfed mid-match, which is pretty reasonable since his antics were getting a bit too far. And before the next round starts, Ricardo's coach points out how one of their biggest weaknesses have been exposed. And that's basically that Ricardo Martinez is too great of a boxer to be advised by anyone in his corner. Which makes sense because this would cause a disconnect from the boxer and his training camp. And I feel like now is the time to move into the predictions for chapter 1403. But before that, I got my last prediction half right and half wrong, but for all intents and purposes I'll just say I got it wrong, so we are currently 7 and 5. But essentially, next chapter I think we'll get a reaction from Wally's corner, since the way this chapter ended is very special for this fight. But essentially, I think Wally's corner will react in a very weird way to the end of this chapter. Like, maybe Miguel will say something that he expected this to happen at some point in the fight, since they are in fact fighting Ricardo Martinez. Meanwhile, Ippo and Dankichi will be very surprised by what happened at the end of this chapter. And before the video ends, I just wanted to thank everyone for 304 subscribers, and for the support on my last YouTube short and on my last video. I'm truly grateful to have built such an audience, and I owe it all to anyone who has ever watched one of my videos. And I truly believe that the final exchange between Wally and Ricardo Martinez at the end of this chapter is perfect. Not only do we see a little bit of what I presume is fatigue from Wally, but also Ricardo Martinez finally ends up landing a clean punch on Wally, and I honestly am left speechless. This final panel is what everyone has been waiting for since the fight started. And on that note, this is Mex signing off. It's been real.